Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Dan again, the Dan the World Traveler. That is, I've this is being made in April 2025. This video here, April 2025. That's right now. Uh, I've been set foot on approximately 30 countries, 6 continents, all the continents with the exception of Antarctica. So I give myself the title of World Traveler. I mean, not the title, but that's how I feel. And maybe there's some folks out there who disagree, and you're welcome to that opinion. But I feel like a kind of a world traveler. Um, Today we're going to talk about Taiwan. I was there last year in October 2024. I was not there very long. I would say, depending on how you look at it, I was there for 1 full day, but I stayed in a hostel for 2 nights. So I had to get there, be there for a full day, and then leave. So you could technically say I was there for 3 days, depending on how you want to assess me. But let's say I was there for 3 days. We'll go with that. So I was in Taiwan as I've established for 3 days. And again, that's debatable. But anyway, I pretty much didn't leave Taipei. Taipei was enjoyable. I will say this: if you ever plan a trip to Taiwan or that part of the world in general, educate yourself on the weather before you go. I got lucky. I was in Japan in the same time period, and I made a side trip to Taiwan. I say side trip, maybe I shouldn't say that. It's pretty long distance. It, took 3 hours to get there on Scoot Airlines. That's a Singaporean airline from Tokyo to Taipei. That was 3 hours. That's about what it takes to get from Chicago to LA, or so it's not a small distance. So maybe I shouldn't say side trip, but I did take a side trip to Taiwan when I was in Japan, and let's talk about that a little bit. So Scoot Airlines is what I did, and how I got there. The airport, nice and modern. Customs doesn't take long at all. The metro from the or the train, whatever you want to call it, from the airport to downtown where my hostel was about as good as you can expect. Got me there quick, cheap, affordable, and I met some nice people on the train, believe it or not, fellow travelers. And going in the metro, going from the airport to the downtown Taipei area, it was absolutely magnificent. Big mountains and big hills with beautiful lush trees, and it just very breathtaking beauty. But the weather was not nice. That was the time of you probably heard of this on the news. It's called Typhoon Krathon. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. So I darn near didn't go to Taiwan. It came very close to getting canceled because of the severe weather. But I was lucky. I booked my flight, a month in advance, and you don't know what the weather is going to be a month. They can't predict. Maybe someday we'll be able to predict weather, a month later, but we're not there yet. So, you sort of gamble when you book a trip a month in advance, especially in that part of the world where typhoons and whatnot. They call them typhoons over there in Florida. They call them hurricanes, and I'm not a weather expert, but they call them different things depending on where you are in the world. But in that part of the world, they call them typhoons. So the typhoon was pretty severe, but it mostly hit the southern part of Taiwan, which is usually the case with hurricanes. The southern part of the country usually gets it, and Taipei, which is way in the north, usually gets spared. So that was my luck. I was able to get into Taiwan, but it rained a substantial part of the time I was there. But I got to my hostel, stayed in my hostel for 2 nights, and the full day I was there, I walked around the streets of Taipei. Really a beautiful city, lots and lots of history. They've really kept their culture intact. I will say that they've really kept their culture. And if you're walking around, good news, if it's raining in Taipei, there's lots of protection, because the sidewalks, the buildings in Taipei, the part of Taipei I was in, the buildings seem to extend over the sidewalks. So there's a roof. You could say there's a roof on almost all the sidewalks in Taipei. You don't have to get your umbrella out. The only time you have to go get your umbrella out is when you're crossing the street from one block to another. Then you can put your umbrella back away, because you're protected. There's a roof over all the sidewalks. That's about the best way I can explain it. But lots of protection from the elements in Taipei if you're a pedestrian. Now, if you go outside of Taipei or go to another part of Taipei, that may be a different situation. But anyway, I was walking around Taipei, and believe it or not, my good luck, I found a tour group that some tour guides were giving a tour to folks who were obviously not from Taiwan, and I actually just walked up to them and said, hey, could I be a part of this? And they took me in to their tour group, and very, very nice people. Showed me around Taipei, educated the tour group about Taipei and Taiwan, and we went to see the Chiang Kai-shek Memorial. And you have to actually walk up. I forget exactly the number of steps to get up to the memorial to see where Chiang Kai-shek is in that part of Taipei. And it was when it was designed, they purposely designed. This is what I heard. I could be wrong. The number of steps to get up to the monument was correlated with his age at the time it was built. Something like that. It correlated with his age somehow. I could be wrong about that, but that's what I heard with Chiang Kai-shek's age, the number of steps to get to the top. But I could be way off about that. If I'm wrong about that, I apologize to any historians out there, who want to fact check me. Maybe I'm wrong. But the tour guides gave us a history of, evidently Mandarin is not the only, believe it or not, Mandarin and English are not the only languages spoken in Taiwan, or historically speaking, there is a Taiwanese language that is not Mandarin, and I don't think, I could be wrong about this. I'm not a professional linguist, but there's not a lot of correlation between Taiwanese and Mandarin. I could be wrong about that, but just bear in mind that Mandarin, English is spoken in Taiwan to some degree. It's not, you'll find people, I definitely found people, young people who can't speak English, or at least couldn't speak it that well. That I did find that. So English to some extent is spoken in Taiwan, and Mandarin obviously is spoken very widely in Taiwan. But there are other languages there. There's an indigenous language they actually call Taiwanese. So just be ready for that if you ever visit, and be sensitive to that, and speak a little bit of Mandarin. Educate yourself on a little bit of Mandarin. It'll help you. I understand we have cell phones that can have Google Translate and all that good stuff, but still, just as a matter of courtesy, if you ever visit Taiwan, kind of bear that in mind. The Taiwanese currency, I actually took the time to get the Taiwanese dollar before I went to Taiwan with my bank here in the United States, and that I was well served by doing that, because if you, as is the case anywhere in the world, if you change your money at the airport, you're not going to get a very good deal. Okay, there are some folks out there who, I don't want to say take advantage of you, but you're not going to get the best deal. Do yourself a big favor, and if you want currency to go to Taiwan or anywhere else, go to the bank before you get that done. Other than the airport, outside the airport, get that done. Let's see what else I want to talk about here. Yeah, that's about it. Had a great time in Taiwan. The food is cheap. You can find expensive food if you want expensive food, but definitely not a requirement. You can get around Taiwan cheaply. There's a bus. I rode a tour bus and had a great time. And it's a darn good thing there was a tour bus with a roof on top, because it was storming. The weather was not good. And if you go to Taiwan, be ready to see lots and lots of motorcycles. The motorcycles, I think, outnumbered the cars by a big ratio. You'd pull up I'd be on a bus. The bus would pull up to a stoplight, and you'd see, you'd look out the window and see, literally 10 mopeds or motorcycles right next to you. That's how these folks get around, and I'm guessing that's got something to do with the price of gas in Taiwan. I don't know why that is, but they are a motorcycle, moped, whatever you want to call it, culture in Taipei anyway. I didn't see, like I said, I didn't go outside Taipei, so I can't, I'm not an authority on all of Taiwan. I'm not even an authority on Taipei. I was there for a couple days, so but those were my observations. But anyway, I give the country of Taiwan a good grade. They're good people. I didn't have any, not that I can think of right now at this minute, I didn't have any super negative experiences, and you'll enjoy yourself if you go there. Hopefully you'll have more than a couple days like I did, because seriously, I probably could have spent a month there and really enjoyed myself, but I had time constraints, those darn time constraints. But anyway, had a great time in Taiwan. I highly recommend it. That's it for now. Dan the World Traveler signing off. Talk to you later. Goodbye now. Taiwan.